The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Mercy General Hospital, casting long shadows across the polished floors. Kate Morrison sat in the uncomfortable plastic chair beside her bed, her fingers trembling as she held the phone. The test results had come back 3 days ago, but she still couldn't bring herself to make the call she knew she had to make. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 months to live, maybe less. The words echoed in her mind like a death sentence, which, she supposed, they were. Kate had always been the strong one. At 32, she had built a successful marketing company from nothing, survived her parents' messy divorce, and helped her younger brother through college. She was the person everyone turned to when life got difficult. Now, she was the one who needed help, and she didn't know how to ask for it. Her phone buzzed with a text message from William, her best friend since college. Still on for lunch today? Found this amazing new place downtown that serves those terrible-for-you burgers you love. Kate smiled despite everything. William Parker had been her constant companion for over a decade. They had met during their sophomore year at Northwestern University when they were paired together for a literature project. Kate had been immediately drawn to his quick wit and genuine kindness, while William had been fascinated by her determination and infectious laugh. Over the years, their friendship had weathered everything. William's disastrous engagement to his college girlfriend Sarah, Kate's brief but intense relationship with Marcus, the artist who broke her heart, career changes, family drama, and countless late-night conversations about life, love, and everything in between. William had been in love with Kate for as long as he could remember, but he had never told her. There had been moments when he thought she might feel the same way, but he had always been too afraid to risk their friendship. Kate was too important to him to lose over something as complicated as romantic feelings. Kate looked at his message again and felt her heart break a little more. How could she tell him that she was dying? How could she watch the light fade from his eyes when he realized that their plans for the future would never happen? She typed and deleted a dozen responses before finally settling on something simple. Rain check? Not feeling great today. The response came back almost immediately. Food poisoning again. I told you to stop eating at that sketchy place near your office. Want me to bring soup? Kate's eyes filled with tears. This was exactly what William did. He took care of people. He worried about food poisoning and brought soup and made sure everyone in his life felt loved and supported. How could she be the one to destroy his world? Dr. Elizabeth Chen knocked softly on the door before entering. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a gentle manner that had made the devastating news slightly easier to bear. Kate, how are you feeling today? Like I'm dying, Kate said, then immediately felt bad for her dark humor. Sorry, I'm still processing. Dr. Chen sat down in the chair across from her. That's completely normal. Have you thought about what we discussed yesterday? About telling your family and friends? Kate nodded. I just don't know how. My brother Tommy is finally getting his life together after years of struggling. My parents are dealing with their own health issues. And William? She trailed off. William is the friend who visits you here every day? He doesn't know I'm here for tests. He thinks I'm visiting my sick aunt in Chicago. I've been lying to him for weeks. Kate's voice cracked. He's going to hate me when he finds out. People who love us don't hate us for being sick, Dr. Chun said gently. But they do need time to process and grieve. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes for everyone. Kate knew she was right, but knowing something and being able to do it were two different things. She had built her entire identity around being the person others could depend on. How could she suddenly become the person who needed depending on? After Dr. Chen left, Kate found herself walking the halls of the hospital. The pediatric wing was always the hardest to pass. Children with bald heads from chemotherapy, playing video games, and laughing with their parents. They seemed so brave, so accepting of their circumstances. Kate wondered if she would ever find that kind of peace. She paused outside the hospital chapel, a small room with wooden pews and stained glass windows that cast colorful patterns on the floor. Kate wasn't particularly religious, but something about the quiet space called to her. Inside, an elderly man sat in the front pew, his head bowed in prayer. Kate took a seat in the back and tried to sort through her thoughts. She had always imagined that when she died, it would be far in the future, surrounded by children and grandchildren she hadn't had yet. She had thought she would have decades to accomplish all the things on her mental list. Travel to Europe, learn to paint, maybe finally tell William how she felt about him. The realization hit her like a physical blow. She was in love with William. She had been for years, probably since that night in their senior year when he had stayed up all night helping her study for her marketing final. She had been so focused on not ruining their friendship that she had never allowed herself to fully acknowledge her feelings. Now it was too late. Or was it? Kate pulled out her phone and stared at William's contact information. She could call him right now and tell him everything. That she was sick, that she loved him, that she was terrified of dying alone. But what would that accomplish except to cause him pain? Her phone rang, startling her out of her thoughts. William's name appeared on the screen. "Hey," she answered, trying to sound normal. "Kate, you sound terrible. Are you sure you're okay? I was thinking about driving up to Chicago to check on you." "No," Kate said too quickly. I'm fine. Really, just tired. You've been tired a lot lately. And you missed poker night last week, which is completely unlike you. Talk to me, Kate. What's going on?" Kate closed her eyes. She could picture William perfectly. His dark hair that never stayed quite where it was supposed to go. His green eyes that seemed to see right through her. The way he ran his hand through his hair when he was worried about something. "I just need some time to sort through some things," she said finally. Personal stuff. Personal stuff that you can't talk to me about?" "Kate, we've been friends for 10 years. We've talked about everything. Remember when I had that weird rash in college, and you helped me figure out it was from my new detergent? Remember when you called me crying at 3 in the morning because you thought you had ruined your biggest client presentation?" Kate laughed despite herself. She did remember. William had stayed on the phone with her for 2 hours, helping her practice her presentation until she felt confident again. The client had loved it, and it had led to her biggest contract to date. "This is different," she whispered. "Different how? Are you in trouble? Did something happen with your business?" "Kate, please. You're scaring me." The concern in his voice almost broke her resolve. She wanted nothing more than to tell him everything, to let him take care of her the way he always had. But she couldn't. "Not yet. I'll call you tomorrow," she said. "I promise we'll talk soon." "Kate." She hung up before he could say anything else. Her hands were shaking as she put the phone in her purse. She had just lied to the person she trusted most in the world, and it felt awful. The elderly man in the front pew had left while she was on the phone. Kate was alone in the chapel now, with only her thoughts for company. She thought about all the conversations she and William had shared over the years. Late-night phone calls about everything and nothing. Saturday morning coffee runs where they solved the world's problems. The way he always remembered her birthday and brought her favorite flowers, white roses. She thought about the time she had gotten food poisoning from bad sushi, and William had spent the entire weekend taking care of her. He had made her toast and ginger tea, held her hair back when she was sick, and stayed up all night to make sure she was okay. He had never made her feel like a burden, never acted like he had anywhere else he would rather be. That was just who William was. He showed up for people. He had been showing up for Kate for 10 years, and now she was shutting him out when she needed him most. But that was exactly the problem. Kate had never needed anyone before. She had always been the one doing the helping, the supporting, the showing up. The idea of being helpless and dependent made her feel sick in a way that had nothing to do with the cancer. Kate left the chapel and made her way back to her room. She had a meeting with Dr. Chen's colleague, an oncologist who specialized in pancreatic cancer. Dr. Martinez was supposed to go over treatment options, though Kate already knew there weren't many. The conversation was as grim as she had expected. Chemotherapy might extend her life by a few months, but it would also make her incredibly sick. Surgery wasn't an option because the cancer had already spread. There were experimental treatments, but the success rates were so low that Dr. Martinez didn't even seem optimistic about them. "What would you do?" Kate asked. "If it was you, what would you choose?" Dr. Martinez considered the question carefully. "I would want to focus on quality of life rather than quantity. I would want to spend time with the people I love, doing the things that matter most to me. But that's just me. Everyone's situation is different." Quality of life. Kate thought about what that meant to her. It meant honest conversations with the people she loved. It meant not wasting what little time she had left on fear and deception. When she got back to her apartment that evening, Kate sat down at her kitchen table with a cup of tea and tried to think about how to approach this. She could start with Tommy, her brother. He was younger and might be able to handle the news better than William. Or she could tell her parents first, since they would need time to process everything. But even as she thought about it, Kate knew that William had to be first. He was the most important person in her life, and he deserved to hear this from her, not from someone else. She picked up her phone and scrolled through their text conversation. 10 years of friendship condensed into thousands of messages. Inside jokes, shared memories, and constant support. How do you tell someone who means everything to you that you're going to die? Kate set the phone down and walked to her bedroom. On her dresser was a photo from their college graduation. She and William were wearing their caps and gowns, laughing at something someone had said. They looked so young, so full of hope for the future. Next to it was a more recent photo from last Christmas. They were at William's family's house, wearing matching ugly Christmas sweaters that his mother had bought them. Kate remembered that day perfectly. They had spent the morning cooking with William's mom, the afternoon playing games with his nieces and nephews, and the evening sitting by the fireplace talking about their plans for the new year. Kate had felt like part of the family that day. William's parents had always treated her like a daughter, and his siblings had long ago accepted her as one of them. She wondered if they would still want her around when they knew she was dying. The thought of spending her last Christmas watching everyone try not to cry was almost unbearable. Her phone buzzed with another text from William. "I know you said you needed space, but I'm worried about you. If you need anything at all, I'm here. I love you, Kate." Kate stared at the message for a long time. William ended a lot of their conversations with "I love you," but it was always in the context of friendship. Tonight, though, something about it felt different. Or maybe Kate was just projecting her own feelings onto his words. She typed back, "I love you too, more than you know." It wasn't a full confession, but it was more honest than anything she had said to him in weeks. Kate sent the message before she could second-guess herself, then turned off her phone and went to bed. She dreamed about William that night. They were back in college, sitting in their favorite coffee shop off campus. William was reading her a passage from one of his literature textbooks, something about love and loss and the inevitability of death. In the dream, Kate wasn't afraid. She was just grateful to be there with him, listening to his voice, feeling completely understood. When she woke up the next morning, Kate knew what she had to do. She was going to tell William the truth, all of it. She was going to tell him about the cancer and about her feelings for him. She was going to stop wasting time being afraid and start living what was left of her life. But first, she had to figure out exactly what she was going to say. Kate had never been at a loss for words before, but this felt impossible. How do you summarize a decade of friendship and love and impending loss in a single conversation? She spent the morning writing and rewriting what she wanted to say. Every version sounded wrong, either too clinical or too emotional or too dramatic. Finally, Kate gave up on scripting it. Some conversations were too important to plan. She would just have to trust that the right words would come when she needed them. Kate called William and asked him to meet her at Riverside Park, the place where they had spent countless afternoons over the years. It was neutral ground, somewhere they could talk without interruption. "Are you sure you're feeling better?" William asked when she called. "You still sound off." "I'll explain everything when I see you," Kate said. "Can you meet me at our usual bench in an hour?" "Of course." "Kate, you're starting to worry me. Are you in some kind of trouble?" "Just, please be there. I need to talk to you about something important." Kate hung up and got dressed carefully. She wanted to look like herself, not like someone who was dying. She chose jeans and the blue sweater William had given her for her birthday last year, the one he said brought out her eyes. As she drove to the park, Kate thought about all the conversations they had shared on that bench. The day William had told her about his father's heart attack. The afternoon Kate had cried about her company's financial struggles during the recession. The evening they had sat there until midnight, talking about their dreams for the future. Now she was going to tell him that her future had been cut short, and she had no idea how either of them was going to survive it. William arrived at the park 10 minutes early, as he always did. He had been anxious ever since Kate's phone call, sensing that something was seriously wrong. In 10 years of friendship, he had never heard her sound so fragile, so uncertain. Kate was many things, but uncertain was never one of them. He sat on their usual bench, the one overlooking the small pond where ducks gathered in the summer. It was October now, and the leaves were changing colors, painting the park in shades of gold and crimson. William remembered how Kate always said fall was her favorite season because everything was beautiful even as it was dying. The thought sent a chill through him that had nothing to do with the cool autumn air. Kate appeared on the path a few minutes later, walking slowly toward him. Even from a distance, William could tell something was wrong. She moved differently, more carefully, as if she was afraid of breaking. When she got closer, he could see that she had lost weight, and there were dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. "Hey," she said softly, sitting down beside him on the bench. "Hey yourself," William replied, studying her face. "Kate, what's going on? And please don't tell me it's nothing. I've been worried sick about you for weeks." Kate was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the pond. A family of ducks swam by, the babies following their mother in a perfect line. Such simple trust, William thought. Children believing their parent would lead them safely. Do you remember, Kate said finally, that philosophy class we took together junior year? The one where Professor Hamilton made us write papers about mortality. William frowned. This wasn't what he had expected her to say. Yeah, I remember. You wrote about how people waste their lives worrying about death instead of focusing on living. You got an A+. I was so sure I had it all figured out, Kate said with a bitter laugh. I thought death was this abstract concept, something that happened to other people, much later in life. I was going to live to be 90 and die peacefully in my sleep after accomplishing everything I wanted to do. Kate, you're scaring me. Why are you talking about death? She turned to look at him then, and William saw something in her eyes that made his stomach drop. It was fear, but more than that. It was the look of someone who had seen the end of their story and knew it was coming much sooner than expected. Because I'm dying, William. The words hung in the air between them like a physical presence. William felt as if the world had suddenly shifted on its axis, leaving him struggling to find his balance. What? He whispered. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. 6 months, maybe less. Kate's voice was steady now, as if saying the words out loud had given her strength. I got the diagnosis 3 days ago. William felt like he couldn't breathe. The park around them seemed to fade away until there was nothing but Kate and the devastating words she had just spoken. No, he said. No, that's not possible. You're 32. You're healthy. You run marathons and eat organic food, and cancer doesn't care about any of that, Kate said gently. I've had symptoms for months, but I kept ignoring them. Stomach pain, weight loss, fatigue. I told myself it was stress from work, or that I was getting older, or that I just needed to eat better. By the time I finally saw a doctor, it had already spread. William stood up abruptly, pacing away from the bench. He couldn't process what she was telling him. Kate dying? It was impossible. She was the strongest person he knew, the person who fixed other people's problems and never seemed to have any of her own. There has to be treatment, he said, turning back to her. Chemotherapy, surgery, something. This is 2023. People don't just die from cancer anymore. Some people do, Kate said quietly. The oncologist explained it all to me. We can try chemotherapy, but it won't cure me. It might give me a few extra months, but it will also make me incredibly sick. I'll spend whatever time I have left in hospitals, throwing up and losing my hair and feeling awful. Then, we'll do whatever it takes, William said fiercely. We'll get second opinions, third opinions. We'll find the best doctors in the country. Money doesn't matter. I'll pay for anything you need. Kate smiled sadly. That's exactly what I knew you would say. It's one of the things I love most about you, the way you think you can fix everything with enough determination and effort. Because I can, William insisted. We can. Together. We've gotten through everything else, haven't we? This is different. No, it's not. Remember when your company almost went bankrupt during the recession? You were convinced it was over, but we figured it out. We restructured your business plan, found new clients, worked 18-hour days until you were back on your feet. William, remember when my dad had his heart attack? You drove me to the hospital at 2 in the morning and stayed with my family for 3 days. You helped us navigate the insurance paperwork and made sure my mom was eating and sleeping. You were there for all of us. That's not the same thing. It is exactly the same thing. When people we love are in trouble, we show up. We fight. We don't just give up. Kate stood up and walked over to him, placing her hands on his arms. I'm not giving up. I'm trying to be realistic about what comes next. And part of that is making sure the people I love are prepared. William looked into her eyes, searching for any sign that this might be some kind of mistake, some misunderstanding that could be cleared up with the right conversation or the right test. But what he saw there was acceptance, and somehow that was even more terrifying than the fear had been. How long have you known? He asked. 3 days since the official diagnosis. But I've suspected for about a month that something was seriously wrong. A month. William's voice rose. You've known for a month and didn't tell me? I needed time to process it myself before I could figure out how to tell anyone else. I'm not anyone else, Kate. I'm your best friend. We tell each other everything. Kate flinched at the hurt in his voice. I know. I'm sorry. I was afraid of exactly this reaction. I knew you would want to fix it, and when you realized you couldn't, it would destroy you. So instead you decided to lie to me for a month? Kate, I've been going crazy worrying about you. I knew something was wrong, but you kept insisting you were fine. I started wondering if you were mad at me, or if I had done something to upset you. You didn't do anything wrong. This isn't about you, isn't it? You're my best friend, Kate. You're the most important person in my life. If you're dying, then, yes, it's about me too. They stood there staring at each other, both breathing hard. William realized he was angry, which seemed ridiculous under the circumstances. His best friend had just told him she was dying, and he was angry at her for not telling him sooner. I'm sorry, he said finally. I shouldn't be yelling at you. I don't know how to process this. Join the club, Kate said with a weak smile. I've been trying to figure out how to process it for weeks. They walked back to the bench and sat down again. William felt like his entire world had been turned upside down. This morning, his biggest worry had been whether Kate would like the birthday present he had already bought her for next month. Now he was wondering if she would live to see her birthday at all. What do the doctors say about treatment options? He asked, trying to keep his voice calm and practical. Chemotherapy might extend my life by a few months, but the quality of life would be terrible. There are some experimental treatments, but the success rates are extremely low. Kate pulled a folder out of her purse. I brought you copies of everything, the test results, the treatment options, the prognosis. I know you're going to want to research this yourself. William took the folder, but he didn't open it. The idea that Kate's entire future could be summarized in a handful of medical documents was too awful to contemplate. What about alternative treatments? He asked. Diet changes, supplements, holistic medicine? There has to be something. William, I know this is hard to accept, but I need you to trust me when I say that I've explored every option. I've talked to 3 different oncologists, and they all agree. The cancer is too advanced for any kind of cure. But what if they're wrong? What if there's something they missed? Kate reached over and took his hand. Then, we'll deal with that if it happens. But, right now, I need to focus on what I do have control over. How I want to spend whatever time is left, who I want to spend it with, what I want to say to the people I love. William squeezed her hand, trying to anchor himself to the physical reality of her presence. She was still here. She was still Kate. Nothing had actually changed in the last 20 minutes except his knowledge of the situation. How can I help? He asked. What do you need from me? Just be my friend. Don't treat me like I'm already dead. Don't walk on eggshells around me or act like everything we say has to be profound and meaningful. I want to spend whatever time I have left feeling as normal as possible. That's going to be harder than you think, William said honestly. How am I supposed to pretend that nothing has changed when everything has changed? I'm not asking you to pretend. I'm asking you to focus on living instead of dying. Can you do that for me? William nodded, though he wasn't sure it was true. The knowledge of Kate's diagnosis felt like a weight in his chest, making it hard to breathe normally. How was he supposed to go back to their easy conversations and inside jokes when he knew that every moment might be one of their last? There's something else I need to tell you, Kate said suddenly. More bad news. Because I'm not sure I can handle any more bad news right now. It's not bad news. At least, I don't think it is. Kate took a deep breath. William, I'm in love with you. I have been for years, probably since college. But I was too scared to say anything because I didn't want to risk our friendship. William stared at her, wondering if he had heard correctly. In the space of 30 minutes, Kate had told him she was dying and that she loved him. His brain couldn't seem to process both pieces of information at the same time. You're in love with me? He repeated. Yes. And I know this is probably the worst possible timing, but I couldn't die without telling you. I've wasted so much time being afraid of ruining what we had that I never gave us a chance to have something more. William felt like laughing and crying at the same time. He had imagined this conversation 1,000 times over the years, but never like this. Never with the shadow of death hanging over them, making every word feel desperate and urgent. Kate, he said carefully, I need you to know that I'm in love with you too. I have been since the day we met, practically. I was just too much of a coward to say anything. Kate's eyes filled with tears. Really, all these years, I've been watching you date other people and telling myself that being your friend was enough. I convinced myself that what we had was perfect, and I shouldn't ask for more. We're idiots, Kate said, laughing through her tears. The worst kind of idiots. The kind who waste years being afraid of something that might have been beautiful. They sat there for a moment, holding hands and crying, mourning not just what they were about to lose, but what they had already lost through their own fear and inaction. So what happens now? William asked. Do we try to have a relationship while you're sick? Is that even fair to either of us? I don't know, Kate admitted. I've been thinking about it since I got the diagnosis. Part of me wants to protect you from going through this with me. Watching someone you love die is terrible, and watching someone you're romantically involved with die might be unbearable. That's not your decision to make, William said firmly. If we're going to be together, We're going to be together through all of it. The good parts and the terrible parts. There are going to be more terrible parts than good ones. Maybe. But at least we'll face them honestly, as partners instead of just friends pretending they don't have feelings for each other. Kate looked at him for a long moment, as if she was trying to memorize his face. Are you sure about this? Because once we cross this line, we can't go back to being just friends. I don't want to go back, William said. I want to move forward, whatever that looks like. Kate leaned over and kissed him then, soft and tentative at first, then, with growing certainty. It felt like coming home and starting an adventure at the same time. William had imagined their first kiss countless times, but he had never imagined it would taste like tears and desperation and the bittersweet knowledge that it might also be one of their last. When they broke apart, Kate rested her forehead against his. I love you, she whispered. I love you too, he said. And we're going to figure this out together. They stayed at the park until the sun started to set, talking about everything and nothing. Kate told him more about her diagnosis, the symptoms she had been hiding, the fear that kept her awake at night. William told her about the moment he knew he was in love with her, a random Tuesday 3 years ago when she had called him laughing about something ridiculous her client had said. It felt surreal. This conversation they should have had years ago, finally, happening now when time was running out. But it also felt right, like the missing piece of a puzzle finally clicking into place. When they finally left the park, William walked Kate to her car. They stood there for a moment, reluctant to separate even for the night. I want to come to your next doctor's appointment, William said. If that's okay with you. You don't have to do that. I want to. I want to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Kate nodded. It's Thursday at 2 o'clock. Dr. Martinez, the oncologist. I'll pick you up at 1:30. Kate got in her car, but before she could drive away, William knocked on her window. She rolled it down, looking at him questioningly. Tomorrow, he said. Do you want to have that lunch we missed today? The place with the terrible-for-you burgers. Kate smiled, the first genuinely happy smile he had seen from her in weeks. Yes, I would love that. As William watched her drive away, he felt the weight of everything settling on his shoulders. The woman he loved was dying. They had just confessed their feelings for each other after years of dancing around the truth. He had no idea how to navigate the complex emotions of starting a relationship while simultaneously preparing for it to end. But, for the first time in weeks, Kate had smiled like herself again. And that, William thought, was a place to start. The doctor's office waiting room felt like a place where hope went to die. William sat beside Kate, holding her hand and trying not to stare at the other patients. An elderly man with an oxygen tank. A woman about Kate's age wearing a colorful scarf that couldn't quite hide her lack of hair. A middle-aged couple holding each other tightly, both crying softly. This was Kate's world now, William realized. These sterile rooms, and hushed conversations, and the ever-present smell of disinfectant. The thought made him feel sick. You don't have to come in with me if you don't want to, Kate said quietly. These appointments can be pretty brutal. I'm not going anywhere, William replied, squeezing her hand. We're in this together, remember? Dr. Martinez was a tall man with kind eyes and a gentle manner that somehow made the devastating information he delivered easier to bear. He explained Kate's condition in detail, using charts and medical terminology that William struggled to follow. The bottom line was clear, though. The cancer had spread throughout Kate's abdomen. Surgery wasn't an option. Chemotherapy might extend her life by a few months, but it would also make her extremely sick. What would you do? William found himself asking. If it was your wife, your daughter, someone you loved, what would you recommend? Dr. Martinez looked at him carefully. Are you family? He's my boyfriend, Kate said firmly. William felt a little thrill at the word, despite the circumstances. I would want my loved one to focus on quality of life rather than quantity, Dr. Martinez said honestly. But that's a very personal decision. Some patients choose to fight until the very end, regardless of the side effects. Others prefer to remain comfortable and alert for as long as possible. After the appointment, William and Kate sat in his car in the hospital parking lot. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. So, Kate said finally, still want to date the dying girl? Don't, William said sharply. Don't make jokes about this. Humor is how I cope. You know that about me. This isn't coping. This is deflecting. There's a difference. Kate sighed. You're right. I'm sorry. This is just a lot. William started the car and drove them to the restaurant they had planned to visit the day before. It was a small place downtown that served enormous burgers and hand-cut fries. Normally, Kate would have ordered the veggie burger with sweet potato fries, making fun of William's choice to get the bacon cheeseburger with regular fries. Today, she ordered the biggest burger on the menu. "What?" she said when William raised an eyebrow. "I figure if I'm going to die anyway, I might as well eat whatever I want." They ate mostly in silence, both lost in their own thoughts. William kept looking at Kate, trying to memorize the way she wrinkled her nose when she laughed, the way she always ate her fries before her burger, the way she hummed quietly when she was thinking about something. "We should tell your family," William said eventually. "And mine. People are going to want to know." Kate nodded. "I was thinking about calling Tommy tonight. And maybe asking my parents to visit next weekend. Do you want me to be there when you tell them? Would you? I know it's a lot to ask, but, Kate, you never have to ask. I'm here for all of it." That evening, William sat beside Kate on her couch as she called her brother. Tommy was a year younger than Kate and had always looked up to his big sister. He was finally getting his life together after some difficult years, working as a social worker and dating a woman he was crazy about. "Tommy," Kate said when he answered, "I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen to the whole thing before you say anything, okay?" William could hear Tommy's voice through the phone, agreeable and unsuspecting. Kate told him about the diagnosis simply and directly, the way she had told William. There was a long silence when she finished. "No," Tommy said finally. "No, that's not happening. Kate, you can't be sick. You're the one who takes care of everyone else. I know this is hard to understand. Hard to understand? Kate, you're my sister. You taught me to ride a bike and helped me with my homework and talked me out of dropping out of college 3 different times. You can't just tell me you're dying and expect me to understand it." Kate started crying then, and William took the phone from her. "Tommy, it's William. William, please tell me this is some kind of mistake. Tell me the doctors are wrong. I wish I could. But Kate needs us to be strong for her right now. She needs to know that we're going to support her through this. How am I supposed to support my sister through dying? What does that even mean?" William looked at Kate, who was wiping her eyes with a tissue. "It means we love her and spend time with her and make sure she knows how important she is to us. It means we don't waste whatever time we have left being angry at the situation. Are you guys together now?" Tommy asked suddenly. "I always thought you should be." "Yeah," William said, glancing at Kate. "We finally figured that out. Well, it's about time. Take care of her, okay? And take care of yourself too." After they hung up, Kate curled up against William's side. "One down, about a dozen people to go," she said wearily. "We don't have to tell everyone tonight. We can take this one step at a time." Over the next few days, Kate slowly began telling the people closest to her about her diagnosis. Her parents drove up from Florida immediately, her mother crying before Kate had even finished explaining the situation. Her father, a stoic man who rarely showed emotion, hugged her for a long time and whispered that he was proud of her. Kate's closest friends from college planned a visit for the following weekend. Her business partner, Maria, insisted on taking over more of the day-to-day operations so Kate could focus on her health. William told his own family, and they responded exactly as Kate had expected they would. His mother cried and immediately started researching alternative treatments. His father offered to pay for any medical expenses. His sister called Kate directly to tell her that she loved her and to promise that they would always consider her part of the family. Through it all, William and Kate were learning how to be a couple while simultaneously learning how to face terminal illness together. It was awkward and heartbreaking and beautiful all at once. Some days were better than others. On good days, Kate felt almost normal. She worked from home, managed her business, cooked dinner with William, and watched movies on the couch. On bad days, she was exhausted and nauseous and couldn't bear to think about the future. William quickly learned to read the signs. When Kate was having a good day, he suggested activities they could do together. When she was having a bad day, he simply stayed close and offered quiet comfort. "I keep thinking about all the things we're not going to get to do together," Kate said one evening as they sat on her balcony watching the sunset. "Like what?" "Travel to Europe. Get married. Have kids. Grow old together. All the normal couple things that take decades to unfold." William was quiet for a moment. "What if we did some of those things anyway? Not the growing old part, obviously, but some of the others." "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if we planned a trip to Europe? Even if it's just for a week or 2. And what if—" William paused, his heart racing. "What if we got married?" Kate turned to stare at him. "Are you proposing to me?" "I'm suggesting that we not let your illness dictate our entire relationship. If we want to get married, we should get married. If we want to travel, we should travel. If we want to have experiences together, we should have them while we can." "William, that's crazy. I'm dying. You can't marry someone who's dying. Why not? Because it's not practical? Because it doesn't make financial sense? Because other people might think it's weird? Because it would hurt too much when it ends. It's going to hurt anyway, William said gently. Whether we're married or not, losing you is going to be the worst thing that ever happens to me. But, at least this way, we'll have had something beautiful together. Kate considered this, looking out at the city lights beginning to twinkle in the distance. You really want to marry me, knowing that you'll be a widower within a year? Kate, I've wanted to marry you since we were 22 years old. The only thing that's changed is that now I know we don't have forever to figure it out. What about your future? What about finding someone else and having kids and building a life? I'll figure that out later. Right now, I want to build a life with you, whatever that looks like. Kate was crying again, but this time they were happy tears. Yes, she said. Yes, let's get married. Let's go to Europe. Let's do everything we can while we can. They planned a small wedding for the following month. Just immediate family and their closest friends in the garden behind Kate's apartment building. Kate's parents flew back up from Florida. William's whole family came. Tommy served as the officiant, having gotten ordained online for the occasion. Kate wore a simple white dress that she bought at a department store, nothing fancy or expensive. William wore the navy suit he had bought for his cousin's wedding the year before. The flowers came from the grocery store, and the cake was homemade by William's mother. It was perfect. During the ceremony, Kate's voice shook as she read the vows she had written. William, I promise to love you with whatever time I have left. I promise to be honest with you about how I'm feeling, even when it's scary. I promise to focus on living with you instead of dying without you. William's vows were simple. Kate, I promise to love you through all of it. The good days and the bad days and whatever comes after. I promise to make sure you know every single day how grateful I am to be your husband. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden when Tommy pronounced them husband and wife. The reception was in Kate's apartment, with takeout from their favorite Chinese restaurant and music playing from William's laptop. Kate's energy flagged after a few hours, but she was happy. She spent the evening surrounded by everyone she loved most, celebrating the beginning of something even though they all knew it was also the beginning of the end. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Kate and William lay in bed together as husband and wife. Any regrets? William asked. Only that we waited so long to do this, Kate replied. What about you? Same. Although I'm glad we get to have this at all. Kate curled up against his side, her head on his chest. I love you, husband. I love you too, wife. They had been married for exactly 6 hours, and it already felt like the most natural thing in the world. The next few weeks passed in a blur of honeymoon happiness tinged with the constant awareness of time running out. Kate's energy began to decline more noticeably. She had good days and bad days, but the bad days were becoming more frequent and more severe. William took a leave of absence from his job at the marketing firm where he worked. His boss, who had known about Kate's illness, was understanding and supportive. Take whatever time you need, she said. Your job will be here when you're ready to come back. William and Kate spent their days doing simple things together. They watched old movies and cooked elaborate meals when Kate felt up to it. They took walks in the park when she had energy and stayed in bed talking when she didn't. They planned their trip to Europe, but as Kate's condition worsened, it became clear that international travel wasn't going to be possible. Instead, they took a long weekend trip to a bed and breakfast in Vermont, spending their time hiking gentle trails and sitting by the fireplace in the evenings. This is better than Europe anyway, Kate said as they sat on the porch watching the sun set over the mountains. More peaceful. We can still go to Europe if you want to try, William offered. I could arrange everything. Make sure you have wheelchair access and medical support if you need it. Kate shook her head. I think I'd rather spend whatever energy I have left on being with you here at home. One evening in December, about 2 months after their wedding, Kate had what Dr. Martinez called a significant decline. She woke up in severe pain and couldn't keep food down. William drove her to the emergency room, where they admitted her for observation. It's time to start thinking about hospice care, Dr. Martinez told them gently. Kate's condition is progressing faster than we had hoped. Hospice can help manage her pain and keep her comfortable at home. The word hospice felt like a death sentence, even though they had known this day was coming. Kate cried in William's arms that night, finally, allowing herself to fully grieve for the life she wasn't going to have. I'm so scared, she whispered. Not of dying, exactly, but of leaving you alone. I hate that you're going to have to go through this. I'll be okay, William said, though he wasn't sure it was true. Eventually. And You don't have to worry about me right now. Focus on what you need. Kate looked at him seriously. What I need is for you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me that after I'm gone, you'll find happiness again. Fall in love again. Have children if you want them. Don't spend the rest of your life mourning me. William felt like she was asking him to promise to forget her, which was impossible. Kate, I'm serious. I can't bear the thought of you being alone for the rest of your life because of me. Promise me you'll at least try to move forward. I promise I'll try, William said finally. But not yet. I'm not ready to think about after yet. Okay, not yet. But someday. Kate came home from the hospital with a hospice nurse who would visit 3 times a week and a prescription for stronger pain medication. William converted their living room into a bedroom so Kate wouldn't have to climb stairs, and he learned how to manage her medications and help her with basic care. Kate's family visited as often as they could. Tommy took a leave of absence from his job and stayed for 2 weeks, helping William care for his sister and spending long hours talking with her about their childhood, their parents, and his hopes for the future. Take care of Mom and Dad for me, Kate told him during one of their conversations. They're going to need you more than ever after I'm gone. I don't know how to be the responsible one, Tommy admitted. That was always your job. You've been the responsible one for years now, Kate said gently. You just don't realize it yet. You're going to be fine, Tommy. Better than fine. William's family came to visit regularly as well. His mother brought homemade soup every few days, and his father helped William with household tasks that were becoming difficult to manage on his own. His nieces and nephews, Kate's adopted family, made her cards and drawings that covered the walls of the makeshift bedroom. As Kate's condition continued to deteriorate, William found himself living in a strange state of suspended time. Each day could be Kate's last, but each day she was also still there, still his wife, still the person he loved most in the world. They talked about everything during those final weeks. Their college years, their friendship, their regrets, and hopes and dreams. Kate told William stories about her childhood that she had never shared before. William talked about his fears for the future and his gratitude for their time together. Do you think we would have been happy? Kate asked one day. If we had figured this out sooner, if I hadn't gotten sick, do you think we would have had a good marriage? The best, William said without hesitation. We would have traveled and bought a house with a big backyard and argued about money and whose turn it was to take out the trash. It would have been perfectly ordinary and completely wonderful. Kate smiled weakly. I would have liked that. The ordinary parts most of all. As January approached, Kate's lucid moments became fewer and farther between. The pain medication made her drowsy and confused, but it was the only way to keep her comfortable. William spent most of his time sitting beside her, reading aloud from books she had loved or playing music on his phone. Sometimes Kate would wake up and look at him with complete clarity, as if she was seeing him for the first time. Hi, husband, she would say softly. Hi, wife, he would reply, taking her hand. Those moments were precious and heartbreaking, little gifts of connection in the midst of loss. January brought a bitter cold that seemed to seep through the walls of Kate's apartment, no matter how high William turned the heat. Kate spent most of her time sleeping now, waking only for brief periods when the pain medication wore off or when someone she loved came to visit. William had become an expert at reading the subtle signs of her discomfort. The way her breathing changed when she was in pain. The small furrow that appeared between her eyebrows when she was struggling. The barely audible whimper that meant she needed more medication. Dr. Martinez had increased her pain medication twice in the past week, each time warning William that they were reaching the limits of what was safe. But safety was relative now. The goal was no longer to preserve Kate's life as long as possible, but to make sure she was comfortable in whatever time remained. How much longer? William asked during one of Dr. Martinez's visits. The doctor looked at Kate, who was sleeping peacefully after her latest dose of medication. Days, not weeks, he said gently. I'm sorry. William had thought he was prepared for this answer, but hearing it out loud felt like a physical blow. Days. He and Kate had days left together, not the weeks or months he had been secretly hoping for. That night, William called Tommy and Kate's parents, letting them know that they should come soon if they wanted to say goodbye. He called his own family and Kate's closest friends, giving them the same devastating update. Should I call her office? Tommy asked. Her business partner and the people who work for her? Kate asked me to handle that, William said. She wrote letters for everyone a few weeks ago. I'm supposed to mail them after. After. Such a small word to carry such enormous weight. Over the next 2 days, Kate's apartment filled with the people who loved her most. They came in shifts, careful not to overwhelm her, taking turns sitting beside her bed and holding her hand. Some talked to her as if she could hear everything they said. Others simply sat in silence, offering their presence as a gift. Kate's parents arrived on Tuesday evening, her mother immediately dissolving into tears at the sight of her daughter, so frail and still. Her father, who had always been the strong one in the family, looked lost and helpless. "She can hear us," the hospice nurse, Linda, explained gently. "Hearing is often the last sense to fade. Talk to her. Tell her you love her. Let her know it's okay to go." William struggled with that last part. How could he tell Kate it was okay to go when everything in him wanted her to stay? How could he give her permission to leave him when the thought of living without her felt impossible? Tommy arrived that night, having driven straight from his job in Philadelphia. He looked older than his 31 years, weighed down by the reality of losing his big sister. He spent hours sitting with Kate, talking about their childhood, their shared memories, the way she had shaped his life. "Remember that time when I was 16 and I crashed Dad's car?" Tommy said, his voice thick with tears. "I was so scared to tell them, but you helped me figure out how to explain what happened. You even offered to pay for the repairs with your summer job money." Kate didn't respond, but William thought he saw her fingers twitch slightly, as if some part of her was listening. William's family came to visit on Wednesday afternoon. His mother brought the white roses that had always been Kate's favorite flowers, arranging them in a vase beside her bed. His father sat quietly in the corner, occasionally reaching over to squeeze William's shoulder in silent support. His nieces, 8-year-old Emma and 10-year-old Sarah, were confused by the sadness in the apartment and the way all the adults kept crying. William's sister tried to explain that Aunt Kate was very sick and might have to go away soon. "But she'll get better, right?" Emma asked. "Like when I had pneumonia and had to go to the hospital?" "This is different, sweetheart," William's sister said carefully. "Sometimes people get too sick to get better." Sarah, the older one, seemed to understand more. She approached Kate's bedside carefully and placed a drawing she had made on the nightstand. "I drew our whole family," she whispered. "You're in the middle because you're the most important." William had to leave the room for a few minutes to compose himself. Kate's college friends arrived on Thursday morning. Jessica, her roommate from freshman year, brought photo albums filled with pictures from their university days. They sat around Kate's bedside, sharing memories and inside jokes, trying to fill the room with the laughter that had always been such a big part of Kate's life. "Remember senior year when you decided you wanted to learn to salsa dance?" Jessica said, holding Kate's hand. "You dragged us all to those lessons every Tuesday night for 3 months. You were terrible at it, but you never gave up." "She was determined to master that spin move," added Rebecca, another close friend. "Even though she fell every single time. I learned that move eventually," Kate said suddenly, her voice barely above a whisper. Everyone in the room went quiet. Kate hadn't spoken clearly in 2 days. "Kate," William said, moving closer to her side. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" Kate's eyes opened slowly, and for a moment they were clear and focused. "Tired," she said simply, "but happy. You're all here. We wouldn't be anywhere else," Jessica said, tears streaming down her face. Kate's moments of clarity became more precious as they became more rare. She would surface from the fog of medication and pain for a few minutes, long enough to share a memory or express her love for someone, then drift away again. Friday evening, Kate seemed more alert than she had been in days. William was reading to her from Pride and Prejudice, her favorite novel, when she interrupted him. "William," she said, her voice stronger than it had been all week. "I'm here," he said immediately, setting the book aside. "I need to tell you something important." William took her hand, noticing how thin it had become. "What is it?" "I'm not afraid anymore. Of dying, I mean. I was so scared for so long. But I'm not anymore." "What changed?" Kate smiled weakly. "You. This whole experience. I realized that I got to have the most important thing, even if I didn't get to have it for very long." "What's that?" "Love. Real love. The kind that changes everything. Most people spend their whole lives looking for what we found, and I got to have it, even if it was only for a few months." William felt tears streaming down his face. "I love you so much, Kate. More than I ever thought it was possible to love someone. I know. And that's what makes it okay to go. I'm leaving knowing that I was completely loved by the most wonderful person in the world." They talked through the night, Kate drifting in and out of consciousness, but always returning to William's voice. She told him about her dreams for his future, made him promise again to find happiless after she was gone, and shared memories from their years of friendship that he had forgotten. "Do you remember the night before graduation?" Kate asked as the sun began to rise. "We stayed up until dawn talking about what we wanted our lives to look like. You said you wanted to build something meaningful, a business that would help other people achieve their dreams. And you said you wanted to find someone to love who would love you back completely." "I found her," William said, kissing her forehead, "even if I was too stupid to realize it for 10 years. "We found each other," Kate corrected. Finally, Saturday morning brought a change in Kate's breathing that Linda, the hospice nurse, recognized immediately. She pulled William aside while Kate dozed. "It's very close now," she said gently. "Probably today. Her breathing is becoming more labored, and her body is starting to shut down." "Is she in pain?" "No, the medication is managing that well. This is as peaceful as we can make it." William called Tommy and Kate's parents, who had gone back to their hotel for a few hours of rest. They arrived within minutes, along with William's immediate family. By early afternoon, Kate's apartment was full again of everyone who loved her most. Kate seemed aware of their presence even though she didn't open her eyes or speak. Her breathing became more irregular as the day wore on, sometimes stopping for long moments before starting again. William held her hand and talked to her constantly, telling her about their plans for the future that would never happen, thanking her for the best months of his life, promising her that he would be okay. "I'm going to miss you every single day," he whispered. "But I'm so grateful we finally got to be together, even for such a short time." Kate's breathing became more labored as evening approached. Linda checked her pulse and blood pressure, then looked at the family gathered around the bed. "It won't be much longer now," she said quietly. William laid down beside Kate on the narrow hospital bed they had set up in the living room, holding her close. He could feel her heartbeat, still strong despite everything, and he tried to memorize the feeling of her in his arms. "Thank you," he whispered in her ear, "for loving me, for marrying me, for giving me the best part of my life." Kate's parents sat on one side of the bed, holding her hands. Tommy sat on the other side, talking quietly about how proud he was to be her brother. William's family gathered around them, offering silent support and love. At 8:47 p.m. on a cold Saturday evening in January, Kate Morrison Parker took her last breath. She died peacefully, surrounded by everyone who loved her, with her husband's arms around her and her brother's voice telling her how much she meant to them all. William felt the exact moment when she left them. 1 second she was there, breathing softly against his chest, and the next second she was gone. The absence was immediate and complete, as if someone had turned off a light that had been shining in his life for 10 years. "She's gone," he said quietly, his voice breaking. The room erupted in quiet sobs as everyone said their final goodbyes to Kate. Tommy kissed his sister's forehead and told her he loved her. Her parents held her hands and whispered prayers. William's mother covered Kate with the quilt she had made for their wedding, a final gesture of love and care. William couldn't bring himself to move for a long time. He held Kate's still body and cried for everything they had lost, everything they would never have, and everything they had been blessed to share. Later, much later, Linda helped William with the practical things that had to be done. The funeral home was called. Kate's body was gently taken away. The medical equipment was removed from the apartment. By midnight, the apartment was empty except for William and the overwhelming silence left behind by Kate's absence. Tommy offered to stay with him, but William needed to be alone. He needed to sit in the space where Kate had lived and died and try to figure out how to exist in a world without her. William wandered through the apartment, touching things Kate had touched, remembering conversations they had shared in each room. In the bedroom, he found the notebook where she had written letters to everyone she loved, to be given to them after her death. His letter was on top. "My dearest William," it began. "If you're reading this, then I'm gone, and you're probably feeling like your world has ended. I understand that feeling, because losing you would have felt the same way to me." William had to stop reading several times to compose himself, but he made it through the entire letter. Kate had written about their friendship, their love, their brief marriage, and her hopes for his future. She had thanked him for giving her the greatest gift of her life, being loved completely by someone extraordinary. The letter ended with a challenge. "Now prove to me that our love was worth it by living a beautiful life. I'll be watching, and I'll be proud of every happy moment you allow yourself to have." William folded the letter carefully and placed it back in the notebook. Then he lay down on their bed, still wearing the clothes he had worn to hold his dying wife, and tried to imagine how he was going to survive the next day, and the day after that, and all the days that would come without Kate in them. The last thing he remembered before falling into an exhausted sleep was the sound of Kate's laughter, echoing in his memory like a promise that love, even when it ends, leaves something beautiful behind. William woke up on Sunday morning to a world that felt fundamentally different. The sun was still shining through the bedroom window. The city was still moving outside, but Kate was gone, and nothing would ever be the same. He lay in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling and trying to process the reality of his new existence. Yesterday at this time, he had been a husband caring for his dying wife. Now he was a widower at 32 years old, facing a future he had never imagined and didn't know how to navigate. The silence in the apartment was deafening. For months, William had lived with the constant background noise of medical equipment, hushed conversations, and Kate's labored breathing. Now there was nothing but the ordinary sounds of life continuing outside his walls. Tommy called at 9 a.m. to check on him. "How did you sleep?" he asked gently. "I don't remember sleeping," William admitted. "But I must have, because morning happened. I'm coming over. Don't argue with me." "Tommy, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. Kate made me promise to take care of you after she was gone. I'm starting today." Tommy arrived 30 minutes later with coffee and bagels from the place where he and Kate used to go for breakfast when they were kids. He also brought boxes, and William realized with a start that decisions about Kate's belongings would have to be made. "We don't have to do this today," Tommy said quickly, seeing the look on William's face. "But at some point, we'll need to sort through her things. Figure out what you want to keep, what should go to family, what should be donated." The thought of packing up Kate's life into boxes felt impossible. Her clothes still hung in the closet, her books were still on the shelves, her coffee mug was still in the kitchen sink from the last time she had been strong enough to drink from it herself. "I can't," William said simply. "Okay, not today." They sat at Kate's kitchen table, drinking coffee and eating bagels that tasted like cardboard. Everything felt surreal, like William was watching someone else's life unfold. "The funeral is Thursday," Tommy said eventually. "I talked to Mom and Dad this morning. They want to do a service here in the city, since this is where Kate lived and where most of her friends are." William nodded. Kate had left detailed instructions about what she wanted for her funeral, another item on the long list of things she had organized before her death. She wanted a celebration of life rather than a traditional funeral, with music and stories and laughter instead of formal eulogies and tears. "She wanted you to speak," Tommy continued. "If you feel up to it. She said you were the person who knew her best during the happiest time of her life." William wasn't sure he could stand up in front of a room full of people and talk about Kate without completely falling apart, but he knew he would try. He owed her that much. Over the next few days, William moved through the motions of planning a funeral while feeling like he was watching someone else's life. Kate's business partner, Maria, came to the apartment to collect files and paperwork. Kate's college friends organized the flowers and music. William's family handled the food and logistics. Everyone was kind and supportive, but William felt disconnected from all of it. People kept telling him how sorry they were for his loss, how much Kate had loved him, how beautiful their relationship had been. He appreciated their words, but they felt abstract, like they were talking about someone else's tragedy. The night before the funeral, William finally opened Kate's notebook and read through all the letters she had written. There was one for Tommy, thanking him for being the best little brother in the world and encouraging him to continue building the life he had worked so hard to create. Letters for her parents, expressing her gratitude for their love and support throughout her life. Letters for her closest friends, sharing favorite memories and inside jokes. There was even a letter for William's family, thanking them for accepting her as one of their own and asking them to take care of William in the months ahead. Each letter was perfectly tailored to its recipient, full of the warmth and insight that had made Kate such a beloved friend to so many people. Reading them, William could hear her voice so clearly that for a moment it felt like she was still there with him. The funeral was held at the community center where Kate had volunteered for several years, helping organize programs for local families. The room was packed with people whose lives Kate had touched in some way. Colleagues from her business, friends from college, neighbors from her apartment building, clients who had become friends over the years. William sat in the front row with Kate's family and his own, listening as person after person shared stories about his wife. Kate's college roommate talked about her determination and loyalty. Her business partner described her creativity and integrity. A client spoke about how Kate had helped her rebuild her life after a difficult divorce. Tommy spoke about growing up with Kate as his big sister, how she had always believed in him even when he didn't believe in himself. He talked about how proud he was of the love she had found with William, and how happy their marriage had made her in her final months. When it was William's turn to speak, he walked to the podium on unsteady legs. Looking out at the sea of faces, all turned toward him with expressions of love and sympathy, he felt overwhelmed by the responsibility of representing Kate's life in words. Kate would have loved this, he began, his voice shaking. Not the reason we're here, obviously, but seeing all of you together, celebrating her life instead of just mourning her death. He talked about meeting Kate in college, about their decade of friendship, about the moment he realized he was in love with her. He shared stories that made people laugh and others that made them cry. He talked about Kate's courage in facing her illness, her determination to live fully even while dying, and her insistence on finding joy in the midst of terrible circumstances. Kate taught me that love isn't about having forever, he said, looking directly at Tommy and Kate's parents. It's about making the time you have count. She packed more love into our few months as a couple than most people experience in a lifetime. I'm devastated to lose her, but I'm also grateful beyond measure to have been loved by her. After the service, people gathered for a reception in the same room. William accepted countless hugs and condolences, but he felt like he was performing the role of the grieving widower rather than actually experiencing his grief. Everything felt muted and distant. Dr. Martinez, Kate's oncologist, came to pay his respects. I've seen many families go through this process, he told William quietly. But I've rarely seen a couple face terminal illness with as much grace and love as you and Kate showed. She was lucky to have you. I was the lucky one, William replied automatically. Later that evening, after everyone had gone home and the flowers had been delivered to Kate's apartment, William sat alone in his living room trying to figure out what came next. He was supposed to return to work the following week. He was supposed to resume his normal life, whatever that meant now. But how do you return to normal when nothing about your life is normal anymore? William's leave of absence had been extended through the end of the month, giving him time to adjust, as his boss had put it. But William couldn't imagine ever adjusting to a world without Kate in it. He found himself staying up all night and sleeping during the day, unable to follow any kind of regular schedule. He ate when Tommy or his mother forced food on him, but he had no appetite. He ignored phone calls and let mail pile up on his kitchen table. 2 weeks after the funeral, Tommy staged an intervention. This has to stop, he said, letting himself into William's apartment with the spare key Kate had given him. You look terrible. When's the last time you showered? Or ate a real meal? William looked down at himself and realized he was wearing the same clothes he had put on 3 days ago. I don't know, he admitted. Kate would hate this. You know that, right? She wouldn't want you to fall apart like this. Kate isn't here to want anything, William snapped. That's the whole problem. Tommy sat down across from him. Do you want to talk to someone? A therapist, I mean. Mom found the name of a grief counselor who specializes in helping young people who've lost spouses. I don't want to talk to anyone. I want Kate back. I know, but that's not going to happen, and you have to figure out how to live without her. Why? William asked seriously. Why do I have to figure that out?